You're under arrest. You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
The nation is going to fight against the flooding of the Franklin River.
Bob Brown entered politics back in 1976 to save the Franklin River from being dammed. He stayed on to keep the environment on the agenda, to stand against the war in Afghanistan and to fight for human rights.
We will be doing all we can, again, to have a more humane regime brought in by this government.
He left politics 12 years ago, but hasn't left the front line.
You were arrested in February. You're almost 80. Are you deliberately remaining radical?
I'm, in fact, too conservative. It worries me that I and we are not doing enough. Look at the destruction going on today.
You're under arrest, aren't we? I'm with me.
You'll keep getting arrested if you need to.
If the government wants to arrest peaceful environmentalists and thinks that's going to stop it, wrong. And history's full of people defying laws that were wrong. The suffragettes drive my enthusiasm. Look what they did. Now it's the environmentalist.
Christine Milne grew up on the far northwest coast of Tasmania. She's known Bob since the early days of the Franklin campaign.
Oh, Bob is a legend in the environmental space in Australia. They'll walk past and they'll just say, "Good on you, Bob," or "Thanks, Bob," or you can just see how much they appreciate it. And that's rather good after 40 years of working in this space.
In so-called retirement, he helms the Bob Brown Foundation. It tracks Tasmania's logging industry and advocates for the protection of the state's natural heritage.
So there's been a real firestorm here.
This area, 90 minutes from Hobart, has been logged and burnt, ready to be reseeded. A small portion will become homes and furniture, but 80 to 90% will be turned into wood chips.
Seeing a forest that's been cleared, and particularly if you've spent time in that forest beforehand, is devastating. That forest will never come back, certainly not in our lifetime.
Just down the road, there's a glimpse of what was here before the industry moved in.
These are said to grow as slowly as 1 metre a century. So there's many centuries of life. The Grove of Giants is one of those pockets of true tall forests, tallest forests in the Southern Hemisphere and tallest flowering plants on Earth.
This isn't a national park. Volunteers have built this track themselves.
They're taller than the tallest building in Tasmania. These are the tallest buildings in Tasmania.
They were due to be logged in 2023, but successful campaigning means they have been saved, for now.
70% of people want the forest saved. 70% of politicians want them logged more quickly because they tug their forelock to the corporations.
So then why do people vote for those politicians?
People are bombarded with materialism. Go and buy this, go and buy that, even if they don't want it. Go and buy this. If we had near as much put into let's save nature for our children, it would switch around quickly. No wonder young people keep coming up to me saying, "Bob, why are you optimistic?"
You don't sound optimistic.
No, there's a difference between being optimistic and stating the facts. And you see, I think in these young people, I see that wish to get going. And that's why we have the motto, don't get depressed, get active.
Active, but not always beloved.
Certainly did have to have a tough skin. You know, people would wind down their windows and shout abuse. It was really quite tough times.
If I came up the street in Hobart, or indeed in Melbourne, I'd be wise to have somebody with me because people used to say, "I'm going to get you, we're going to knock you out."
Were you scared when that used to happen?
Not scared, except for the campaigns, you know, and I've had bullets in my direction, and I've had hunters with dogs and guns out in the middle of the night in the forest, and been beaten up once or twice, along with many others. Now when I walk down the street, and I haven't changed, people say, "Bob, can I have a selfie?" "Oh, Bob, I love what you're doing."
Both he and I, politics has always been a way of achieving outcomes that we believe in. It's not an end in itself. Put the earth first. Put it first in everything we do, in all of our activism and in the way that we collaborate and work together. And that has always been the case, and it will be till he takes his last breath. He is committed to this for life.
I love defending nature. I love the young people who are getting behind this. It's a growing band of people pushing an idea whose time has come. The world is changing, and it's changing rapidly, and it's going in the right direction. No wonder I'm optimistic.
Gee, I wish the Greens had a leader like him now instead of Adam Bant. I mean, he was really genuine protection. I mean, he changed elections. Bob Hawke won an election off the back of backtracking on the damming of the Franklin.
Yeah. Well, that Franklin Dams case is such a landmark in legal history, but also environmental history. I'm interested in you saying that, though, because like I look at him and I go, you know, John Howard would always say, you may not like me, but you know what I stand for. And I feel like the same was always true with Bob Brown.
Correct.
But would you have said that about Bob Brown when he was in Parliament?
Yeah, I think so, because he was a very he was an environmental activist. No, this was before the days of a lot of conversation about global warming. This was more about physical things that you could see, like big trees and not damming the Franklin. I mean, I went up to the head river of the Franklin to cover it and got off and spoke to those protesters. I mean, it was a very different time.
Incredible man.
I voted Green once.
Did you really?
did not.
Only once.
Only one.
Oh.
Only once.
What year was that?
Oh, I was in Sydney. can't remember. In the 90s somewhere.
Did you vote Green because you can't remember?
He was hands. He was a he was hands
Seriously,
down
can't
back
remember
then.
why I made that mistake.